My name is Min Kobayashi, and today I'm going to be revisiting my newbie tag because I am celebrating being 2 years on BookTube. It's not quite the day, but it is around 2 years ago that I started, and I deleted a lot of my original videos because, well, only the first few. I wasn't that bad, but I had a lot of just terrible, talking. I didn't have editing. It was awkward and uncomfortable, and it's still cringy to go back and watch my ones that were edited. So on that same subject, this video will not be edited because my computer broke once again. It won't start because I'm too poor to actually buy new laptops, so I just borrow old broken laptops from people, and then they continuously just crash. And I wonder why I end up in this situation. So the current one that I'm borrowing from someone does not have editing software on it. Anyways, long story short, we're going to be hoping that I can talk all right today. But please stand with me. Okay. This is a combination of this one as well as the new to BookTube because I wanted to answer some of the questions. It's not all of the answers, but I wanted to kind of revisit it, and I thought it would be fun and sometimes humorous. I also wanted to have clips that are embarrassing of me talking about it before, but again, no editing. So let's jump right into it with the first question of why did I join BookTube? And I originally joined BookTube because I was lonely and I didn't have friends in the area to talk about it. It was after my second year of university. And I was living alone in a city where all my friends had left for the summer, so I wanted a community. I also wanted people that I could talk about reading and writing, and I thought it would be good if I want to get into writing to know other people who also want to get into writing. I think that both of those have happened over the last 2 years. I have gained an incredible amount of energy and just ability of confidence. I think that I was very, very shy. That's very evident in my first videos. I even covered myself in black lipstick, which I still love black lipstick, but I think that it was a very much coping mechanism of being too shy. And I've definitely grown a lot in confidence and being able to be this is me, and it's okay to be a nerd and it's okay to love things a little bit too intensely sometimes. And yeah, I think I've grown a lot in that. So that is something that I'm really happy about it. And if you're too shy for joining BookTube, just join. It's okay. We take the flawed and those that are seemingly too perfect with their editing skills that are way better than me. Anyways, those people are fine too. Second question was unique things that you bring to BookTube. I hate this question. It's a terrible question. It's you come into our community and now justify why you're unique. Well, first of all, everyone's unique. I think that that's something that's very clearly and lots of people have very basic content where it's the basic things of BookTube, and they do it really well, and that's fine. As well as I think that people that do really creative things are really amazing. Some of my favorite booktubers are people that never do hauls and wrap-ups and things like that, and some of my favorites are people who do that every single month, and I adore it both ways. For me, my original answer had to do with the fact that I ramble and I read a lot of different genres, including Shakespeare, and I still ramble a lot and read Shakespeare, so good on that. I think that I am also have learned to change the world with my voice. No, I say this because you think as a YouTuber that people would mention maybe your appearance because your face is always there, or that they would mention your content. Those were the things that I expected to have comments on, not my voice. Continuously, it's become an inside joke for myself that every time I have a shout out, every time someone mentions me, they always mention my voice. And it becomes very humorful for me. I don't think that my voice is that great. I hated it. One of the things I hated most about starting a YouTube channel was my voice. So I'm glad that I can be known as having a soothing voice, I guess. I also think that I have a deep care for the written word and language itself. I think that a lot of people care most about plot and characters, which I think is awesome. I care a lot about plot and characters as well, but I have just a general love for knowledge and learning things about people through books, which I think I bring in my wrap-ups as well as my discussion videos as well. And I'm a writer as well. I'm a psychology student, which has a huge impact on my reading and writing tastes, and I promise that I'll one day do more writing videos. It just kind of scares me still. And then, why do you like reading? My original answer was reading people's innermost thoughts, and I think that this is something that is still really true. I really, really love being able to experience things through people's minds and worlds, and I love learning and education, and those things stand really strong for me, whether I'm reading a fantasy or things like science fiction, which has quickly become one of my favorite genres because it explores society in a different way and asks those themes and questions. And a lot of people will say things like, oh, I would love this book, but I had to read it for English class and we had to pick it apart. And I'm like, that is what I love about every book, even if it's like a fantasy book or like a book that you wouldn't typically say is like full of themes. I'm like, I'm here for that. And then we have biggest challenge. My biggest challenge that I named before was my speech impediment and editing and time management. I still feel like I sometimes feel self-conscious about that, but it's not normally in front of the camera, normally because I can simply edit out or redo things that I miss up, or like I'll say things in different ways so it won't be a word that I mispronounce. But I did do a whole video talking about how my speech impediment and my dyslexia plays into me as a person who does videos and as a reader. And yeah, I still have no luck with editing and time management. Yeah, that can be difficult. I feel like I go through phases when it seems incredibly hard to have the energy to look nice for the camera and to edit and to go through all the different areas it takes for time. But then I also really enjoy it normally when I get into it. I find it's just like getting the thing when it feels like a mountain. I have so many unedited videos. And then, what kind of books do you like? This is one question that has changed fundamentally. So my original answer had to do with fantasy, caper stories, villain stories, as well as classics, which classics was like an outright lie. I enjoyed the classic books I had read at that point, but I didn't read very many classic books. But I've definitely read a ton more classic books now and really felt that that is a genre that I absolutely love, and exploring the themes and life and all of that. Caper stories and villain stories are just books, things I enjoy in books. They're not genres, I don't know what I was saying. Fantasy is a genre that I still really, really love, but I love science fiction as well. I didn't think that I liked science fiction because I think normally of space. I still don't tend to be drawn to books that have to deal with outer space, but I love the fact that science fiction delves into sociology a lot and explores things in different contexts. I think that fantasy does that really well as well, but I love more the world building and the fullness of that. And then I've also dabbled in horror, which is something I never thought I would do, but I have. And I also read a lot of nonfiction the last few years, and I really have learned to explore and love that as well. I have learned to love poetry. I did not think I was a poetry person. I am a poetry person. Oh, I love poetry. It is beautiful in a way that just really unites my soul, I think. And I've also read some mysteries that I love. And what else am I saying here? Graphic novels and comics, which I had not read a single one of. And yeah, I've read a lot more adult YA and middle grade as well. I used to primarily read like classics in YA, but I have definitely delved and learned to love more of those genres. I pretty much read everything across the board. Next question I had was favorite authors, and these are not an exclusive list of favorite authors, but these are authors that I've read a lot of their works. And that would be Marissa Meyer. I have read all of her published works. They're all incredible in my mind. That consists of the Lunar Chronicles, Heartless, and the companion books to the Lunar Chronicles, as well as Renegades, and yeah, that's it. Then I have read Rick Riordan, all of his series, well, most of his series. I have read Percy Jackson, Heroes of Olympus, Magnus Chase, and the first book in the Apollo series. I've not read any of the King Chronicles, and all of the, most of the companion books as well. And then I have read Lucy Maud Montgomery. Anne of Green Gables is a cornerstone of who I am as a person, and that has been talked about a lot if you don't know. Marie Lu, I have also read every single book she has ever published, the Legends series, the Land Elite series, the Warcross duology, as well as her Batman book. And then Kirsten White, I also adore her work. She is the author of N.I. Darkin, as well as The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein, both series and book that I hold as some of the best written books ever. And Cinda Williams-Chima, again, her Seven Realms series is one of my favorite series of all time. The world building is incredible, and it is so underhyped, it makes me so sad, as well as I started her Shattered Realm series. And Sylvain Neuvel is an author that has written incredibleness. He is the author of The Themis Files, and they are extraordinary. I need to read his latest release, and that is The Test. It is a small novella talking about immigration as well in a science fiction way. And C.S. Lewis is an old-time favorite. Narnia is the cornerstone of like the foundation of what my love of reading is based on, as well as I've read many of his nonfiction books, as well as the first 2 books of the Space Trilogy. I also have Neil Shusterman. I have not read most of his books. I've only read The Ark of the Scythe, the first 2 books that are out, but they are so good. I can't not mention him. I haven't mentioned a lot of classic books in here simply because of the fact that I haven't read a lot of their continuous works, but I do have Wilfred Owen, which is a World War I poet, which is incredible. Him and Siegfried Sassoon are 2 of my favorite to read of those, as well as Agatha Christie has 2 of the novels that are incredible that I've read, which are And Then They're Done and The Murder on the Orient Express, are both jaw-breaking, mind-fluttering, jaw-clenching, everything hurts and your mind is filled with questions. And then Frankenstein, I want to start a cult around Frankenstein. I mentioned this before. It needs to be repurposed and re-explored because the way that media presents it is terrible, but Frankenstein itself is incredible and kind of owns my soul and is the foundation on which science fiction, horror, all of that is based, which I love. And then The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath is a book very close to my soul because it discusses mental health in such a real and tangible way. And that's all I'm going to mention on that so far. And then very quickly I'm going to talk about the last book I read and the current reading, and then we're getting to the end here. So the last book I read was Fahrenheit 451. This is a book that really explores language and knowledge as well as just community and what we value, and it is so beautiful that it explores the value of written word and knowledge and education and seeking things and not being ignorant, and I adored it. I loved it. I read it in all one setting. And then I have 1,000 Beginnings and Endings. This is an anthology of retold myths and legends from Asian culture in general, but also especially Eastern Asian culture. And I really, really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the ones I have been reading. I have not finished it yet. As well as Black Dog, Black Night, which is a bunch of translated Vietnamese poems, which are also incredible. They deal a lot with war and suffering and identity, and I really, really love them. They're really emotional as well. And then I have my last question, which is bookmarks. What do I use for bookmarks? Bookmarks are for the weak. Don't let them trade you. They're not for real readers. Real readers, use whatever you can get. I'm totally joking. This was fun to revisit. I really enjoyed revisiting it and being like, all these things have changed. I hope that you enjoy my answers as well. If you ever want to revisit things, then do. And I would love to hear from you on where you feel like you've grown in the time on being BookTube, whether that's like a week or years or all of that. And yeah, I might do some other things celebrating this. I'm not quite sure. But I have rambled for far too long, so goodbye.